Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of the Smashing Skull Sessions. We've changed it up a small bit this week. I'm delighted to say that Tim, my fellow writer and reviewer, has joined me to chat to Eric Reifinger from Carved into the Sun. Eric, you're welcome.
Thanks for having me, man.
Great stuff. And Tim also, come here, thanks for joining me on this one.
Yep, looking forward to it.
So Eric, look, geez, we so much to ask about this album. Like it's an absolute belter altogether, like it really is. But look, before we even get into that and how impressive and emotive and everything else, how did you decide on the name of the band? Can I just start with, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so I started making music in late 2019, and I had a couple songs that I wanted to release, and I didn't have a name or anything, so I was just kind of, I wanted to release them in 2019, and it was December, so I kind of needed a name, and I was listening to the band Strugoi. I don't know if you know that band, but it's the guitarist of Paradise Lost. He's the guitarist and vocalist of Strugoi, and they have a song called Carved into the Skin, and that name was showing on the display in my car, and I thought it said Carved into the Sun at first. I was like, that's kind of cool, and then I realized it didn't say that, but and it doesn't actually make that much sense because, you know, the sun's a ball of gas, so you can't really carve anything into it, but nevertheless, I went with the name, and that's just, you know, what I go by now.
Great, man, isn't it how you come up with something just like that? I mean, as I was thinking, it's a very post-rock name, you know, the way bands throw some crazy names like that. So, I mean, it does fit the genre without doubt.
Yeah, I like it, for sure.
And your own name, Eric Reifinger, it's typical. It sounds typical German.
It is a German name, yeah.
So my ancestors, or?
Yeah, my heritage is mostly German, so it's definitely where it comes from.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I myself live in the Netherlands, so neighbors to Germany.
Awesome, sweet.
Very nice. Yeah, and I mean, have you lived all your life in the States? So, Eric.
Yeah, so I was actually born in Hawaii, and then my family moved to California when I was a little kid, and I've lived in California most of my life. I lived in Seattle for a little bit, and besides that, like 95% of my life I've lived in California, so different parts, but yeah.
But a very nice lifestyle, I've no doubt, in California.
Yeah, so I grew up in LA County, Los Angeles County, so it's really crowded there for my liking. So when I went to college, I moved up north a little bit, and it was less crowded, and I realized that I liked it a lot more. Yeah. And now I live even farther north from there. I live in the area where my wife is originally from, so we moved here after college, and so yeah, it's California, but you know, not crowded like LA or San Francisco or the cities. So
yeah, not the image that we portrayed in our heads, anyway.
Probably not. Yeah.
No, I would say not. No, Tim wrote the review.
Yeah.
So Tim, do you want to kick off a question on it?
Yeah, well. I wrote also in my review that it's cool nowadays that sometimes you found new music only through, first of all, through the artwork. Because I don't even know anymore where I saw it first, but I saw the image of the front cover, you know.
Yeah.
I'm really a sucker for melancholy and black and white art, so I had to look deeper into it, and then I listened to the music, and yeah, I was completely hooked, you know. So that was my first. It's only 4 months ago, I think, right? October it was released.
Yeah, almost 4 months.
So what happened? What happened in those 4 months? How was the album received?
It's been pretty amazing. I mean, in the first few days, I think it had more streams than the album I released in 2020 had up until that point. So definitely unexpected, and got a lot of really positive reviews, and was really, you know, appreciative of that. I didn't expect that at all, and you know, I just recorded these songs and put them out, and yeah, it's been incredible. Like,
yeah, I was just thinking, like, Ronnie from WherePostRockDwells, I would assume has played a big part in it for you in helping you get the name out there, hasn't he? He's been some man for the post scene. It's incredible, like, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Even with the album that I released in 2020, he's amazing and supportive in every possible way.
Mm.
And I've just kept in touch with him even before then. I would talk with him, through premieres on his channel, things like that. But then I just got to know him even better after I released the first album. And then, I sent him the new album before it was actually released. He said he wanted to do a premiere of it, and he's posted about it on his Facebook, on his Instagram, and he had the banner on his channel, supporting the album and just every possible thing. So for sure, it wouldn't have anywhere near the number of listeners that it's had without Ronnie. He's been amazing.
Unbelievable. Like, do you pinch yourself sometimes, Eric? And say, based on the reaction of it. I know, don't take anything away from it. It's an amazing album, but how quickly it was taken in by people,
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's been incredible.
Bit of a whirlwind, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't know quite what to make of it still, because for the most part, I'm just a guy making music in this room. So, it's just hard to believe even sometimes that the number of people who have listened to it have.
Yeah.
But, if, for me is a really personal process to make the album, and even listening back to it is a very personal thing. And so I've gotten a lot of messages from people who, are listening to it and have a connection to it because they're going through something similar to what I was when I wrote the album. So, it's really meaningful to be able to spread it with two people that.
Yeah. And it turned out a very personal, but also I think a very emotive, emotional album. Is that something you're okay with? Get a little bit deeper on
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So it was written after the passing of your brother.
Yeah. My brother passed away almost 3 years ago. So he and I were really close. I have 5 younger siblings, but he's the closest in age to me. And so we learned how to play guitar together more or less, and had nearly identical taste in music, and just everything. We were really close.
Yeah.
And it's just a tough thing for to try to process, and I'm not the most vocal person or expressive, and so at some point I just picked up my guitar, and that was the one thing that I could always do when I was just going through it. And so I decided at some point, I played a few things since he had passed away. I just decided to start recording those and just make a project of it, and just try to express myself and how I was feeling at that time through an album.
And was it 3 years ago you said, Eric, that he passed? Yeah,
in 2020.
So were you writing music even before that? Had your stuff sort of penciled in, or was it a case of that was the catalyst that moved everything along?
Yeah, so the first track on the album, Hexus, I'd written the intro riff and started to kind of develop that idea, but everything else was written after my brother passed away. Okay. So the song "The Earth Fell Away on Every Side," the third track, is I just played that like right when I came home from his funeral. I just plugged in my guitar and started playing that. Wow. Sorry if this is really a downer topic. But,
no. People want to know. I'm assuming, and myself and Tim want to know, like, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's kind of the first thing that I played when I got home in California. And then the track that's called "Through My Screams, the Wind Still Whispers," I actually started writing when I was visiting my family in Tennessee for the funeral. Okay. So it's all kind of, just part of, that.
It's just your process of dealing with it, I suppose, Eric, wasn't it? You put it to use, like, which is a talent in itself, like, to be able to harness that emotion, like, and put it into such an amazing album, like, like, as heartbreaking as it probably was to write and as emotive as the music is. Do you find comfort in it now, listening back to it, or is it how do you feel about the album?
Yeah, I do, and I think that. So to me, the album tells kind of a story, represents different periods of time in those couple of years after my brother passed away. So from like the second track to the end of the album, I think to me anyway, it represents kind of the different stages that I went through, different emotions, just different phases. And by the end of the album, I can feel, through the songs, or like I remember writing those parts, and I remember being in a different place. And, it's still pretty tough to have lost my brother. I miss him every day. It's tough to talk about him, but I can, see even through the music that, I'm able to move forward and not be like in this just place where I felt like there was no light, which is kind of where I was towards the start of the album.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But you're okay with listening back to your own album? It's not something you try and avoid?
I don't try to avoid it. I don't listen to it a lot just because I'm a little obsessive about writing music. So I feel like I've kind of closed that chapter a little bit, and I'm writing new stuff now. I still do listen to it here and there, but not a lot.
Okay.
But yeah, it doesn't bother me to listen to it. It's kind of nice to revisit those feelings. And
absolutely.
Does your family listen to your music and how they felt about this album, with this story behind, or this feeling in it?
My one of my brothers I know has listened to it at least a handful of times, and it's not really his style of music, but he's in the process of learning how to play guitar, and so I think it's kind of an example for him, thinking about how I wrote the songs, and just ideas that way, and he knows what it means to me, and we are really close, even closer now, because we just talked with each other a lot over the last few years, since we lost our brother. But so he's definitely listened a handful of times. One of my sisters has listened. I know that. Not so sure about the rest of my family. My family's not big into post-metal or post-rock, so I sent it to all of them.
They just tell you they did, do they? Just to get you off their back, maybe? Yeah.
Not even that. No, not even that. I sent it to all of them, and kind of before I released it, and said, I just wanted to let you guys know that I wrote this album, and it's about Brandon. And I wasn't going to feel right if I released it to the world and hadn't at least given my family a chance to hear it. Got very minimal feedback aside from the one brother, but
Do you think do you think it's because of they don't really like heavy music, or is it too heavy or too difficult for them, maybe, or maybe both?
I think it's both. Yeah. So I think it's definitely both. My dad, I think, has trouble listening to. He's not big into music to begin with, so a lot of the music that he's listened to over the years has been music that my brother or I made. My brother Brandon, who passed, he's in melodic death metal bands and stuff like that, and he's a really unbelievably talented musician. And when he passed away, I put together all the music that he'd ever recorded, and I sent it to my dad, and just said, in case you ever want to revisit Brandon's music, I think that's kind of how he would want to be remembered in a lot of ways. And I don't think my dad's listened to any of it since then, just because it's so hard for him.
Exactly. So
maybe it's a similar thing with my music. I'm not sure.
Gee, it's a nice thing to do, though, Eric, to get his music, and it's something to always remember him by, and to have it and share it amongst family. It's a beautiful thing. Look, I suppose this is a perfect time, Eric, to really give everybody a taster of this album. The Earth Fell Away. This is the opening track, guys. This is Hexus. Have a listen if you haven't heard already. Trust me, trust him when we say you'll be blown away by this. So there you have it, guys. That is Hexus from The Earth Fell Away, and that is from Carved into the Sun, Eric's latest album, which also includes a bass player. I think Tim has a question or two on that. So Tim, take it away, man.
Yeah, well, the band is really, I thought, a one-man band, but you also have a bass player, it says. So I was curious about how did that connection came with. He doesn't live in the States, I think. Is he from Russia or Switzerland? Or,
He's Russian. Yeah, so before I started writing this album, I had the thought that I thought, my music could definitely benefit from having a bass player, because I just suck at playing bass. I have no idea what a bass player does. I play bass like I play guitar, and that I don't think works so well. So, after I'd started writing the album, I had already been following the Instagram hashtag session bassist. And so I just see bassists pop up on my Instagram feed here and there. And that's how I found this guy, Artem, who plays in my band now. And I just messaged him. We went back and forth. We tried out one track just to see how it would work, collaborating internationally. At the time, he was located in Moscow. And just over the course of maybe a year or a little more, we just, email back and forth. I'd send him Logic projects or really just the exported audio from Logic, and he'd do his thing and send me back bass tracks, and I'd give him feedback, or I'd just chop up what he'd sent and put it on the project and maybe send it back with some notes or something like that. And, but anyway, in the end, he contributed a lot to the album. And, to me, the bass on the album, it makes a big difference. And so I really think that he contributed a ton to the overall sound. Now he's located in Switzerland. He had to flee his country because of all of the Ukraine, conflict.
Yeah.
Man, it's like the times we're living in, it's fucking lunacy. But it's amazing how you can actually get somebody from another part of the world and collaborate, as you're saying, online or however you describe it. It has made music so much easier. This technology, how we've progressed, isn't it? That you can do
totally.
This.
You haven't met yet in real life.
No, we've never met in real life. And, I've told him that, if he ever wants to come visit California, he's more than welcome. But I think that's a tough thing for him to manage. So I'm sure I'll end up visiting him at some point. But yeah, I've never met him, and we made this album together.
And does he do sort of his own solo work, or is he in a band already, or that you want to do a bit of name dropping for him on his behalf?
Yeah, so he's in a band called Violent Bliss. And so I'm not totally sure what the status of their band is. Mm-hmm. They were all located in Russia, and I know the drummer is now here. Somehow he made it here in California. Okay. And the vocalist is actually Artem's wife. So they're together in Switzerland. But I don't really know what their plans are now.
Yeah, sure. Fuck it. Who does? Sorry, Tim, I cut across you there.
So no plans for getting a real a band together playing live in shows, or?
It's a tough thing. I would love to do it, and it's not out of the question or anything like that. It's just so far it's just two of us. We're in very different parts of the world, so I'd have to recruit some musicians. And a lot of why I started making music like I do, by myself now, is because even when I was in high school, I had trouble finding musicians that I could, that were reliable or, fit what I was trying to do, in whatever way. So haven't had a whole lot of luck with that in the past.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll work out at some point in the future, but I'll have to work on that.
Yeah,
it would be a very cool band for a play at Dunk Festival, right, Bet?
Oh, chalk it down, absolutely, yeah. Dunk Fest it's written all over you, carved in the sun. Absolutely, yeah.
Hopefully one day.
Someday, Eric, someday, yeah. But come here, Tim's review there of your last album, he praised your composition, and especially the guitar work. Your own guitar work, you do it all yourself, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, who are your inspirations when it comes to who influenced your style of guitaring?
I'd say, as far as the music that I write now goes, I would say Mike Sullivan, the Russian Circles guitarist, is probably the biggest influence for me. You know, there are a lot of bands that have influenced how I write, or, you know, the sound that I'm going for. But if there's a guitarist, I'd say him. Or I basically learned how to play guitar by learning Thrice songs. So Thrice's guitarist has been a big influence for me. But yeah, I'd say those two guys are the main ones.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, like, as Tim is also alluding to, like, the production and everything is fucking top notch for solo projects. And I mean, you know, you go back 10 years, Eric, like, people were talking about solo projects. It was sort of almost secondary to a band, you know what I mean, when it came to quality. But no, fuck it, times have changed, haven't they? I mean, solo projects they're plentiful at the moment, and they're of the highest quality, like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. And in my case, I can't take all the credit. I'm not good at mixing or mastering, so I have other people who know what they're doing handle that part of it. There are a lot of solo projects out there that, you know, do that part of the albums themselves as well. And that completely blows me away. I don't even understand how that would just make writing, you know, creating music such a chore for me. But, you know, it's incredible that people are doing that part too. But yeah, the technology out there nowadays does make it a lot simpler. That's for sure.
It does. Like, it's amazing what you can do now. But I'm guessing I can't do any of it. I can't play an instrument. Like, but again, like, we talk about collaborating a lot online across countries, and the work you can do within your own studio, and anyone in their home can create a studio now. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You know? All you have to have is talent to play an instrument, I suppose.
I guess you don't have to have that, but that helps. Yeah.
Well, if it's not needed, I might as well give it a go, I'd say. Right?
Yeah, there you go.
Give it a try.
Absolutely.
I also, while we're talking about your own music here now again, sampling, the samples that you picked and chosen to use on your latest album, how do you find these? How do you go about picking them out? I mean, there's how many audio samples out there? I mean, millions. So how do you decide them?
Yeah, so I included 2 in the album, and they were really just coincidence, or I guess not coincidence. The one that's on the second to last track on the album, Shoreless, is a clip of a guy performing part of A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis. So I read that book, you know, maybe 2 years ago, something like that. And so I was just looking for, you know, stuff more on that book. And I came across this performance, and I thought it was really good. And I don't know, I don't remember the exact point where I decided to try to, you know, include it in a song, but I just stuck it in there, and it worked pretty well. And just the feeling of what he's saying, though, really, you know, connected with the emotion of the song. And then the one that's on the 4th and 5th tracks as another thing where I was just watching videos late at night, like very depressed, and just the words that the guy spoke just helped me out a good amount in the moment. And I felt like maybe the 5th track would work better if there was a clip, an audio clip of some kind on it, some kind of sample. I like a lot of bands that, you know, include stuff like that. For Monument to Masses is one of my favorite post-rock bands ever. They do a lot of clips like that, and obviously Godspeed and all these others. So, you know, I kind of had that idea in my head, but I didn't just want to include anything. And so, you know, saw this video, and the words meant a lot to me, and I just tried it out, and I thought it worked pretty well.
I love audio samples in post music as well. It's a very post music thing to do. Isn't it? You know,
for sure.
But I love it. Like, Tim, do you like audio samples in music? Is that your thing? Yeah,
especially when it's instrumental. You know, then it still gives another layer sometimes, right? And especially when the lyrics and the emotion on the spoken word or the sample really fits the thematically with the album and the emotion. I think that's
I always just wonder how you pick them out, Eric. Like, I mean, you know, you sit down, you've written an album or written a track, and you're saying, right, where do I start looking here to find a sample? Like,
I didn't, I
It just
didn't.
happens by chance, also.
It did, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah. I mean, I found those clips at some point where during the process of writing the songs, so it wasn't like I had written the songs and then just tried, decided to slap these samples on top.
Yeah.
It was actually part of the writing process that I had those clips in mind.
Yeah.
And yeah, what Tim was saying. I really was not sure about using any audio clips on the songs, just because it is a very post thing to do, and I didn't want to, just speak, I didn't want to do it just because other bands do it. But I showed my wife the song that became the fourth and fifth songs on the album, and just asked her what she felt about it, and she told me that she liked it more than she likes the other songs, and it had a lot to do with the audio clip, because it told the story. And I was like, you know what? All right, let's go with it.
Yeah, and the audio sample start of at the end of the fourth song, it goes into the fifth, right? In the fifth song, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You use it also for as a sort of a bridge between those songs.
Yeah. I mean, the idea was for those two songs to, flow into each other. Really, they're one big song that I split into two. Okay. And so the clip kind of comes in, a few minutes in, and then the tracks separate. And so, yeah, it comes in during the fourth track.
Yeah. And there's also a song, the piano song, the second song, it was written or played also by a family member for you?
Yeah. So I kind of made that idea in Logic, just like the basics of it, just like clicking with MIDI. And then I sent it to my brother, Gabriel, who I mentioned before. Mm-hmm. And he's a really talented pianist. And so he just worked on it. And then he came to visit me at some point. I got a MIDI keyboard that he could use, and he recorded it. And I felt like, so my brother Brandon, who passed, was also a really talented piano player. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to have something on the keys on the album kind of to represent that. And then I felt to include my other brother Gabriel was kind of a meaningful thing also. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Geez, there's music in your veins within the family. Is there? You all seem to be talented.
Yeah, a few of us.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Tell me about it. And I go on.
I mean, it took a long time for me to put anything together that made any sense. So, it takes time, and, you can get good at anything.
But again, but did your father play instruments, or no? Does it just start with yourselves, siblings?
Yeah. So I'm the oldest of 6 kids. And so when I was probably 11 or 12, I had a friend who played guitar. We did a science project together, and we made a science version of a Blink-182 song, and I just thought it was the most amazing thing that he played guitar. I had never considered that you could even do something like that, because no one in my family was musical at all, and so I just decided to buy a guitar when I was 12 years old, and I was really addicted to playing guitar, even though I was not a good guitarist for many years. And then a few years into me playing, my brother Brandon started playing, and then two of the younger siblings started playing after that.
Okay.
So didn't start as a musical family at all. Yeah,
I thought it did, but we were mentioning pianists, guitarists, and everything. I was saying, is it just in your veins, like did you all just
buried in there somewhere?
Come out of the womb with an instrument in your hand, like
No. Yeah, I have kids, and I've tried to have them come out of the womb playing an instrument. That doesn't really work. They're not interested yet. So.
What ages are they? What a curiosity, Eric. What ages are you talking?
Yeah, I have 3 kids. They're 9, 5, and 2. So really young still.
Have they started an instrument?
A little bit. They don't play regularly at all. No. Like I have guitars and electronic drums around the house, and other instruments, and they'll mess with them here and there, but they're not taking it seriously yet. Maybe one day.
You're not going to hold that against America, yeah?
No,
take it serious. Let's just say they're your next future collaboration, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That was kind of the idea, like start a family so that I have the band built in, have the drummer, the bassist, the second guitarist.
Exactly. Yeah, trash out some ideas over dinner or something. Then, yeah.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Did you play the drumming yourself, or was it the programming? Because you had electric drumming, but
I programmed it all, so
Okay.
it's all just MIDI and Logic. And then, so the guy who mixed the album is Bo Burchell from Seosin, and he has his own drum library, like drum sample library. So once I had programmed the drums, I sent everything to him, and he used his drum library for the actual sounds on the album. But yeah, it's all just MIDI and Logic.
All right.
Because if you didn't if I didn't read that on the Bandcamp page, then I thought maybe there's a drummer, so you can't tell the difference between programming or real.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a good thing.
I spent an unbelievable amount of time programming the drums so that they would sound as realistic as possible. I have an electronic drum set, and before I started writing music as carved into the sun, I thought I was going to kind of make music by looping drums on the electronic drum set and just loop guitar over it and record videos that way. But guys like Cloud Kicker, Ben Sharp, and some others made me realize that you can actually program drums, and if put enough time into it, you can actually make it sound really authentic. And so that's what I was aiming for anyway.
Because I suppose, sorry, that was one of the things, wasn't it, with a lot of the solar projects, again, going back maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 years, the drums always did sound false and a bit tinny and never really had that thump that you've actually found on your album. So they've come a long way, like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Did the mastering help that also by Magnus Lindberg?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it was incredible to have him, contribute to my music at all, our music. I actually had a different guy lined up to master the album. It's the same guy who mastered the first album. But I think he closed his studio kind of unexpectedly, and so I needed somebody to master it. It was on a little bit of a time crunch, and I think actually Ronnie from WherePostRockDwells suggested that I reach out to Magnus, and I didn't quite realize that he would just be open to a quick turnaround on mastering an album. But I emailed him. I think he responded the same day or the following day, and just said he was,
This is mad, because you have the likes of Magnus on a pedestal, like, because he's been involved in such colossal albums, like. But there you go, like, it's such a tight knit community, like this posting that he was back onto that same day. It's mad, isn't it?
And that's colossal. Absolutely. I've loved Cult of Luna for I don't know, 18 years or something like that, like a really long time. And so for him to be involved in our music at all is just incredible. And he did a great job. There's a very noticeable difference from starting with just the mixed album and with his mastering on it. It's amazing.
Did he appreciate the music as well?
What's that?
Did he appreciate the music as well, or?
I think so. I mean, I'm assuming the music had something to do with him being willing to do it. So he didn't give a whole lot of feedback in that way, besides that he wanted to do it.
Okay.
So did he actually have to listen to it first before he come back and give you a yes or no answer?
I sent it to him. I'm assuming he listened to it. I just sent him the mixed audio and said, I have these tracks that need mastering. Brilliant. If he'd be willing to do it, please let me know. I completely expected him to say, I can do it in like 8 months or something like that. But I think he started within a few days. So
that's incredible stuff. Did I also read somewhere, Eric, that during the writing process, you didn't listen to any other music really? You sort of took a step away from every other influence or anything that could, change your path.
Yeah, it's hard to do that completely, but normally I'm really obsessive about checking new music out. Like, I'm listening to new bands, new albums all the time, every day. And so at least I wanted these songs to be sort of reflective of, where I was mentally and just what my influences already were going in. I wasn't listening to a whole lot of new music or even music that wasn't what I was writing at the time during the writing process, because I don't know, I wanted it to be just a reflection of exactly where I was, mentally, emotionally, as I was writing it.
Okay, yeah. I get you. Tim, have you anything to ask there?
Yeah, I was curious about the artwork. Like I said in the beginning, I really love the black and white and the melancholy it shows. What can you tell about that?
Yeah, so the image is one that I found online when I was just putting together demo tracks for the album. I kind of had a group of images that I was using, like one for each track. And I don't know, they just represented to me kind of the feeling of the songs. And the one that was used for the cover reminds me a lot of a picture that I took of my brother a long time ago. And so that's probably had a lot to do with why I was using it. And then the person who did the artwork for the album is named Leanna White. And she did the artwork for the album I did in 2020 also. And I just, gave her the images that I was already using and the songs and told her, just do what you feel,
what she feels is right.
Works. Yeah. And she came back with that same image that I'd already been using as the cover. And, so I just thought it worked well. And, that's not my brother on the cover, but again, it reminds me of him a lot. So I thought it worked.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. And at school nowadays, of course, because of the LPs, the vinyls that have big front covers to have a good image.
Yeah.
And for the European distribution, you are with The Mist Records.
Yeah.
Here in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Niels from The Mist reached out. He played a song, on his radio show from the first album, and so I'd already communicated with him here and there. And so he played some songs on his show, and then wanted to include the album on his website, and he just mentioned that he could get better deal for Europeans by ordering in bulk and having them there. So he's been amazing. He's for him to make the record more accessible and just give some of the songs more of a platform on his show. He's been very generous and helpful.
Cool. Yeah, I don't have it yet, so I pre-ordered it immediately.
Yeah.
I think in a couple of weeks, early March, it will be released here. So then
nobody has it yet. It doesn't actually exist out there yet, so I don't
even
have
the
it.
States.
No. So I got started on the vinyl idea pretty late this time, and so Dunk is pressing it, but they're not totally done. I think they're supposed to be done pretty much any day now, and then they have to ship a pallet of records to me, and then I have to send them back out from there. So maybe in the next month or so.
Jeez, everyone you talked about that you dealt with, Eric, there since we started here, it's all quality. Like, you've got Magnus, like you've got Ronnie from WherePost, you've got Dunk involved, D-Mist. Like, I mean, you've got the right people around you.
Yeah.
And, that doesn't happen by chance. Like, it's down to the quality of your work. Like, it's down to the music. Like, the music is just breathtaking stuff. Like, this deserves to go where it's going.
Thank you, man. Yeah, definitely had some help from some people that I really appreciate that were instrumental in their different roles, getting it out there or doing whatever they did. Yeah, definitely wouldn't be where it is now without those guys.
These things just happen, just fall into place. It's meant to be, like
a little bit. Yeah.
Not saying that you don't put the effort or hard work in.
No, it took effort, but actually Niels from D-Mist suggested that I reach out to Dunk. So it was all just guys I'd already been talking to a little bit who I didn't have a lot of experience doing various things. I did have the first album pressed to vinyl, but with a different company, and that process was not the best. So I was looking for somebody different, but also at the same time, it's all funded by me. And so cost was really a factor. And so I wanted to have it on vinyl for myself,
course.
but the cost seemed like too much. And yeah, Neil said that he would be, willing to put it on his website, but the cost had to be a certain number, otherwise it didn't make sense. And he suggested that I reach out to Dunk, so I did, and it worked out.
Are the pre-orders already sold out, or they're still available?
They're still available. Definitely not.
That's a shame, people.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, it's a decent number of records that's being pressed, and I'm like extremely close to the point where the cost to press it to vinyl is nearly covered. So that's kind of what matters to me. And like I said, I wanted to have it on vinyl for myself, and then not having to cover a huge cost to have it on vinyl is pretty nice. It's again more than I expected.
So. Yeah. And what about, as we're talking new music, Eric? Are you in the process of writing new tracks, new songs? Did you mention that at the start?
Yeah. So I'm kind of always writing new music. So I have kind of a lot of different projects going, different ideas that I'm working on, and it's all pretty early stages. But yeah, I have a lot of new music that I'm working on.
Under Carved into the Sun, or various other projects?
Just the one project, yeah. So it's all potential Carved into the Sun songs, and just kind of playing with ideas. So my process is kind of starting with an idea. Like a lot of the time, I'll just sort of plug my guitar into my computer, start recording, play something, and see if there's anything that I like. And if anything sticks, then I'll start to develop an idea and see where it can go, and then I'll export that and put it on SoundCloud just for myself. And I listen to my own music all the time, and that's kind of how I'm writing. I'm kind of constantly listening to my own music, thinking about what I could do with it. And so I have a lot of tracks like that I'm working on, kind of deciding what I want to move forward with.
Do you ever think that when you're listening to those tracks that you're saying, I can do better, I can improve it? And is there a stage where the track will never be complete, when you listen to your own music so often like that,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little hypercritical of my own music. Like, even with, the album that we just released, there were points very close to when I finished it where I was thinking, like, is this even any good? Or I don't know, or like, are these parts anywhere near done? And so at a certain point, I just have to cut myself off and just say, I've done everything I can to it, and it is what it is. But yeah, with these newer ideas, it's definitely kind of a good number of them are just going to be, disregarded, kind of ignored, and I'll probably move forward with a handful of them.
And is there some kind of a concept that you're working around? Like you have the vision, I suppose. Do you have the nucleus of this album, like
a new one?
Yeah, so something that's coming. Yeah.
Not really.
No, still ideas. So just
just rough ideas, and just where I am now, kind of just putting that emotion into music. Maybe my influences that I'm listening to now, something like that. So I don't have a big overarching concept for a new album yet. Maybe there will be one.
Okay. I have a couple of questions, Eric, I want to throw your way there. They're just a bit of fun, really, that I always put out at the end of the show. I'm hoping that Tim sent them on to you.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. The first question there, and these are three new questions, by the way, Eric. I would have had older questions before, but I came up with these ones there last week. What musician or band would you like to hear do an interpretation of a Carved into the Sun track?
So, I thought about that. So, I think the band that came to mind first is Go-Go Penguin. I don't know if you know who that is, but they're like a progressive jazz fusion band or something like that. They're kind of post-rockish. Okay. But it's a guy who plays piano, a stand-up bassist, and a drummer. And they're unbelievable. They're probably my most listened to band over the last year or so. And so to hear what they're just unbelievably talented. So it's an absolute pipe dream. Like that'll never happen. They're pretty big, but it would be amazing to hear what they could do with the song of their choice. They can, have at it.
Everything's at their disposal, Eric, is it?
Yeah, please. Yeah, feel free. If not them, another near impossibility, but I really love A.A. Williams as well. And so I was thinking, she's already got that post, feeling behind her music with the vocals. So.
Exactly. She has that haunting voice, like to put a mark on it, doesn't she? Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking, to hear what a vocalist could do with, nice. I don't know, one of the melodies or something like that would be cool.
Brilliant. Great answer, Eric. Great answer.
Nice.
Tim?
What movie or series would you love to have your music on?
So I'm not much of a TV or movie person.
Okay.
The movies that I tend to watch are like documentaries about like adventures, like mountain climbing and things like that. Like, I don't know if you've seen Free Solo or Meru is a movie that I like a lot. It's about Free Solo is Alex Honnold climbing in Yosemite, but Meru is this really epic movie about a guy named Conrad Anker and Jimmy Chin climbing in the Himalayas and one other guy. Okay. And it's this just like unbelievable story of these guys climbing like an impossible mountain, and there's just they nearly die, and there's just a lot going on. So I feel like maybe the emotion behind some of my songs could work with something like that. Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah, like post music can really fit in. That's why the question was generated, because I think there's a bit of a connection between them. Like with soundtracks, a lot of bands in post music tend to do a bit of soundtrack work and stuff, and a lot of cinematic stuff. So that's why we're sort of checking that question out with you. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Third question for you. What was the best live performance you've ever witnessed?
Seen Russian Circles play a lot. So I would have to go with them. I think their music is already unbelievable. I love every one of their albums, to listen to at home or wherever I am, but the live experience is just completely different. I've only seen a couple bands play live in the last many years, and I've seen them play every chance I've gotten. So yeah, to me, they're top live band for sure.
They do bring an unbelievable sound with them, don't they? I suppose, Tim, you're the same. You've heard them a couple of times, I would guess.
Only the three of them. It's great.
The fact that it's three of them, the guitarist's live looping ability is just crazy. Yeah. I don't even understand how it's possible to not completely mess that up like a fair percentage of the time, but he's unbelievable. And their overall sound and the crowd just being into it, and the feeling overall is just perfect. I love that band.
The drummer pushing them really forward,
Absolutely.
What a drummer.
And
And that's you're only short one to make the band, sure, Eric. Look, there's two of you already, so you're just short the drummer.
That's true.
That's it. If Russian Circles can do it.
Yeah. Again, it's unbelievable that the guitarist of Russian Circles can pull that off. So I'm not that good. So I need some help. But potentially again one day.
Brilliant. Tim, are you any questions you want to add before we wrap it up?
I call it. You don't really want to get on stage with this music also, because I know you. If you put a band together, I know you can see the world.
Yeah. No, I would like to. There are a couple of things that get in the way. The needing a band, first of all, which is doable. I know that. Again, I have 3 kids, so just finding the time. I also I'm an accountant, so I have a really time-consuming job.
Okay.
And so when I write the songs, it's like 5 a.m. or like midnight. It's kind of my window for making music. And so, to actually play shows would be a way bigger time commitment.
Yeah.
And so, as my kids get older, maybe that'll be possible. It's just kind of got to figure that out.
I think Eric, we want to thank you, man, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Okay. And we wish you well with everything that you're in the process of writing and that you're doing. I hope the vinyl comes out pretty soon, and I'm pretty sure it'll be sold out at some stage. There's no doubt. The album's getting unbelievable traction at the moment, and it's down to this this group of fucking this genre that we're in. You know, it's just everyone seems to look after each other, and everyone seems to sort of help each other out and buy merch, which is a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, all I can say is good luck again. Thanks for that album, Carved into the Sun's album, As the Earth Fell Away.
Yeah.
Absolutely mind-blowing post-rock, I suppose. It's just weighty and beautiful. And again, it has a very personal meaning to Eric himself, lads. And look, it'll resonate with everyone, I think, when you have a listen to it. And Tim, thanks for coming on the show. Delighted to have you on with me there. This is the first time we've done this, Eric, having the two of us interview. So
yeah,
likewise.
Many firsts.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much
cheers,
for inviting me on. It was awesome.
No bother at all. Thank you. So there you have it, guys. That is Eric Reifinger from Carved into the Sun. Check out his Bandcamp page and maybe purchase the vinyl, and maybe even have a look at the back catalogue there, because I don't even know, are you selling it? Is there still vinyl available on the older?
Still available. Yes, just on Bandcamp.
So there you go, guys. Check it all out. That's it. Thanks to Richie from the Metal Cell podcast, who edits and produces the show as always, and I'll see you lads in 2 weeks' time. Take care. Cheers.